What's up, YouTube? What's up, Xtreme Gainz family? I'm Chuck. This is Xtreme Gainz. I am not a financial advisor. Nothing I say is or ever will be financial advice. Please do not take it as such. Today is June 12th, Sunday, June 12th, 2022, and this is my AMC, GME, and SPY Algo Exposed weekly update and preparation video for tomorrow and beyond. As always, I hope you had a great day on Friday in the markets and you were able to take advantage of the batshit crazy volatility all over the place and make some extreme gains for yourselves. I'm going to go over all my regulars, my snake algo method for all three tickers, and some macro comparatives. So with that said, let's dig in. Real quick, a recap of Friday, man. Crazy day. There were some upside runners. I'm going to show you one in a second. And then we had the CPI data on Friday get released at 0830 Eastern Standard. And SPY absolutely shit itself on that justification for movement and ended the day in regular trading hours down 2.9%. An absolute monster day on SPY puts. The end of the week, really, in general, was all downside and a monster opportunity for some extreme gains, to which I took advantage of all 3 days. I hope you did as well. And then there were some upside runners, one of which I wanted to share a ticker here with you guys and gals, was Redbox. And I had previously charted this ticker, and I used my box top method on this, and this is the bullish parabolic schematic within that method, and it absolutely had this thing pegged. This thing fulfilled itself to the penny on Friday with the continuation upside movement. Again, a monster opportunity for extreme gains. The Xtreme Gainz family premium Discord absolutely killed it last week. Killed it on Friday as a standalone day. I remember seeing one Xtreme Gainz on Redbox alone was over 900%. And then there were multiple triple digit winners and extreme gains on SPY throughout the week last week and Friday alone. So congratulations to everybody. And as I said at the beginning, I hope you were able to do the same and make some extreme gains for yourselves. A real quick shameless plug. I do have 2 spots available in my premium Discord currently right now. If you are interested in filling one of 2 of those spots, get a hold of me, email me. The email is in the description of the video. Let me know that's what you want to do, and we will get the ball rolling for you. All right, moving on. On your screen is AMC and my current intra-week snake. AMC finished the day Friday down 2.74% in regular trading hours, down an additional 0.48% in after hours, trading at $12.37. The current intra-week snake has projected and fulfilled since last Monday, and its projection going into Friday was as you see it, and it fulfilled that essentially to the downside Friday. So as you see here, it does appear to potentially expire tomorrow end of day. So if price action were to continue to fulfill this moving into at a minimum tomorrow, that is what I would be expecting to see as a fulfillment of that projection tomorrow. Now, 2 things. If it fulfills this in its entirety, I will be clipping a potential new setup of day prior to and day of divergence for a potential new intra-week snake moving forward past tomorrow. Or if price action does not fulfill this into its expiry and it diverts to the upside or to the downside tomorrow away from this, then I'll be clipping Friday as day prior to and tomorrow as day of, and then I will be presenting those in tomorrow night's update and prep video. However, in the interim, if that were to happen, upside or downside diversions, I am going to be using the previous setup that we talked about that provided a day of and day prior to divergence to the upside last week. And I showed you in Thursday night's video a mirrored position of one of them, and I'm going to show you both of them now. And that is and that's what's happened now, the Algos switched this and flipped to the downside. Therefore, the bearish algos are winning to the downside for that downside push now. And if this were the right scenario, but this was a mirrored image of what was going to potentially fulfill to upside, which is now fulfilling to downside. And I put this on here going into Thursday night's video to show what I thought price action could potentially look like if it did not follow this to the T and it went downside going into Friday. And that is exactly how this thing fulfilled, candle for candle. So if price action were to continue to fulfill this thing and divert from the current intra-week snake to the upside like I talked about tomorrow, I would be looking at this for potential fulfillment from price action moving forward into, at a minimum, tomorrow, and then potentially beyond. Then that was the day, I think, prior to. Then the day of divergence in that previous setup, again under the same pretenses, with the bearish algos flipped, now in control of movement to the downside, and we're seeing the fulfillment of that. This in its mirrored position overlapped back into Wednesday, fulfillment Thursday and Friday, and now you can see what the projection would be moving forward if price action would divert from the current intra-week snake to the downside, moving into, at a minimum, tomorrow. So that's what I'll be using for potential guideline for price action if this does not continue to fulfill itself in its entirety to that expiration end of day tomorrow. So that's everything I'm looking at with AMC and the current intra-week snakes. Excuse me. Now the macro comparative. As you know, on AMC, the macro comparative I have been using is from the previous double bottom right next door over here, and I have been using it in the flipped position. And I have had to mirror this a time or two throughout the fulfillment of this thing. As you can see, it invert mirrored this to the downside where it projected upside. It invert mirrored this price action to the downside where it was projecting upside. So I used it those two times in a mirrored position. And last week I talked about if this were to converge back with this to the downside, that's what we needed, that hard downside move off the $14 level. And that's exactly the fulfillment we got in this setup with the macro comparative. So moving forward into tomorrow and beyond, you can see what it is projecting in this current position if price action were to fulfill it. Then we did look at this because we looked at this in the mirrored position, and it has mirrored itself in those two occurrences. I do want to look at this in the mirrored position briefly. Again, all an attempt to stay out in front of everything and be prepared for everything and surprised by nothing. So that would be the mirrored position of it. Obviously, if price action were to mirror that downside projection from it in its straight up flipped position, it would need to get a bounce off of this mid time frame ascending third and move right back up to the upside, what appears to be potentially around the 1350 tomorrow. So that's what I'll be looking at if price action fulfills this thing moving forward into tomorrow and beyond in the mirrored position. So that is everything in its entirety with AMC. Next up, GME. GME finished the day on Friday green, up 0.09%, and then down 0.84% in after hours, trading and closing out at an even Steven 128 per share. The current intra-week snake, where did I put my, is what you see on the screen, blue. And we talked about this in Thursday night's video, about this being a potential divergence from this current intra-week snake. And that's okay because it has fulfilled itself for almost 2 whole weeks now. And I said I wanted to wait to see if price action confirmed that as a divergence. It has not yet, but again, in an attempt to stay out in front of it, this is still just an inverted mirroring of this movement now to the downside. This could easily converge back with this. It's very close. Could easily converge back with this to the upside and continue to fulfill this to expiry. However, if it didn't, and this was a divergence, then I went ahead and I clipped day of and day prior to look at. So first scenario that I'd be looking at tomorrow from an intra-week snake perspective is if price action bounced right from where it's at and went back upside to continue to converge with this and fulfill this to its expiry. If not, and if that was a divergence from it last week, then I'd be looking at day of and day prior to. So here is day prior to. with the overlap. You can see the projection and fulfillment of overlap and what the projection would be from it moving forward into tomorrow and beyond if price action were to continue to fulfill it. Then the day of divergence was this one. Again, overlapped the 1 day. Projection and fulfillment throughout, and you can see what the projection would be from it moving into tomorrow and beyond if price action were to fulfill it. So that is everything from an intra-week perspective, intra-week snake perspective that I am looking at with GME. The macro comparative for GME, as you are well aware of, is also from the previous double bottom over here right next door. And just like AMC, I have had to use this in a straight up and a mirrored position. The straight up position is how you see it. The only time I've had to use it in the mirrored is when this downside projection last week went upside in price action. It has since converged back with it, potentially, and moving forward into tomorrow and beyond, you can see what the projection would be from it if price action were to continue to fulfill it in this placement. However, because of that mirroring, I do want to look at it in the mirrored position. And right there's the mirrored position of it, where all of this is now mirrored from that, and you get candle for candle fulfillment up here with that inverted mirroring. And if price action were to fulfill this macro comparative in the mirrored position moving into tomorrow and beyond, you can see what that would look like moving forward. That is everything I am looking at for GME. Then last but not least, SPY. SPY finished the day on Friday down, like I said, 2.9%, and then it went up 0.12% in after hours, ended and closed out trading at 390.26. The current intra-week snake is the yellow here, and in the position that I had this in, showing it to you on Thursday night's video, was like this, projecting a potential bounce off of this level back to the upside in that manner. This has displayed some invert mirrorings throughout in this position, and I showed you previously how I come up with these identifications of the invert mirrorings. I contrast the color, I invert mirror it, and I apply it to the projection. And if it lines itself up candle for candle, that means that price action inverted and mirrored that movement away from, in a mirrored way, the projection, but candle for candle fulfilled it in that way. And that's how I pretty much verify that. So anyways, that's what has happened throughout this thing. So in the straight up position, if price action were to have fulfilled this on Friday, it was projecting the bounce to the upside. However, it did not. It went downside. So there is a possibility that this is invert mirroring itself again now to the downside. So if that was the case, this would be the position of the intra-week snake mirrored for a potential continuation of fulfillment moving forward. If it were to stay fulfilling in the mirrored position, this is what I would be looking at moving into tomorrow and beyond for a projection from the intra-week snake. Now, obviously, if it does not do that and it were to potentially reconverge back with this, it is very obvious what it would need to do. If it does neither one of those setups, then this will be considered the official divergence from this current intra-week snake that has projected and fulfilled for more than 2 weeks, and I will be presenting a day of and day prior to new potential intra-week snakes in tomorrow night's video, hopefully with some confirmation of price action tomorrow to confirm that for me. Then the macro comparative for SPY is from the 08-09 correction and crash in what I have called the extended version that I've been tracking forever on this channel. And going into Thursday, or I guess in Thursday night's video, going into Friday, the projection from this appeared to be downside, whether it be in this manner or this manner. We have talked previously about this. This has never been a candle for candle projection. It has been a projected, suggested path to which price action has essentially followed for over a year now. So to get granular about this being candle for candle in that manner is not of interest to me. However, the generalized perspective of macro movement in this position is downside. There's no denying that. Looking at a granular placement of this, it potentially appears to be right there to me. Now, this is just me throwing one at it, so take it with a grain of salt. But moving forward into tomorrow and beyond, specifically this week, there is potential in this position for a bounce or a relief bounce, if you will, prior to a continuation to downside. But nonetheless, moving forward, like I said, with a generalized perspective of macro movements, it is projecting continuation downside. I'm hoping to get a little bit of confirmation here if it is going to provide this relief bounce up off of this ascending macro third that I do have pulled through here. That would give me some definite confirmation, in my opinion, right now as to the potential placement of this macro comparative moving forward for projection purposes. So that is everything that I am looking for and looking at with AMC, GME, and SPY. If you made it to the end of the video, thank you very much. I appreciate it greatly. I will get an update and prep video out tomorrow night after market close. As always, enjoy the rest of your evening, and I will talk to you all on the next one tomorrow night. Later.